come back to you after addressing this. Now, Iran has now released a statement condemning the U.S. strike in Venezuela. A statement of the Ministry of Foreign Affairs of the Islamic Republic of Iran strongly condemns what it calls America's military aggression against the Bolivarian Republic of Venezuela and its repeated threats. Iran has stated America's military aggression targeted civilian and military areas in several Venezuelan states. It constitutes a clear example of state terrorism and armed aggression, resulting in civilian casualties and significant material damage. This aggression is a flagrant violation of the fundamental principles of the United Nations Charter, particularly the prohibition on the use of force, and endangers regional and international peace and security. Now, Andrew, another statement coming in from Iran. Now, would there also be an official statement from China in the near future?
Well, China has already made it quite known. I mean, in the foreign ministry has already made several statements on what's happening in Venezuela, and of course about the recent seizure of two oil tankers carrying Hong Kong's flag, but with oil, with 3.5 million barrels of oil belonging to China. So I think that this is also this arbitrary seizure of other countries' vessels in open waters by sending the American Coast Guard on a helicopter with fully armed military descending on the deck of the vessels and seizing the entire vessels and confiscating all the oil. And then the vessels themselves is an open act of piracy. I think that China has said the same. But words are one thing. I think their own words are not going to change the situation. As I mentioned, China's got some very lethal countermeasures, but that doesn't apply to other countries. But at the end of the day, the whole world order is now upended. I think increasingly we are at the cusp of a paradigm shift in world international relations. Previously, the whole world was now led by a more benign hegemon at the United States. On the one hand, it is, of course, very powerful economically, but on the other hand, it still pays attention, even if lip service, but still, it's still credible that some sort of rules are being upheld. But now everything is not up for grabs. Instead of international rules, we are now seeing the rules of the jungle. It's the survival of the fittest. So I think that all countries are now being looked at themselves, to what extent that they become self-reliant, and to what extent that they can are capable of defending their own interests despite of the alleged friendship or alliance. Look at the previous partnership between India and the United States, and now, in spite of that, Trump is also imposing huge tariffs on India. And then you look at other countries, it's the same. But in spite of his very harsh containment policy of China, he still wants to make it appear he's a great friend of President Xi, and he has now secured his visit to China. And then before then, he's also calibrating his relationship with Japan, so that he just wants to win it all. Regardless, as I said, he wants to eat his cake and have it at the same time. But whether he's going to succeed or not, and then what are the consequences, still remain to be seen. But one thing for sure, that American so-called leadership has now largely been called into question, and the whole world order is now totally upended. And countries are now recalibrating their relationship towards the global south, and then trying to seek cooperation with China, but on the one hand, not embracing China entirely. And the same applies to Europe, and the same applies to all other countries. I think this is a good lesson for other countries to reflect upon their own sense of security the ability to defend their own self-interest and national sovereignty in terms of capacities, the military capacity, the economic capacity, and the diplomatic international relations capacity. So I think that this, in 2026, we're now seeing the whole world is now being torn asunder. The whole world order is now being reshuffled. And then Venezuela is only one side of the picture.